Oh, my hellhound, my beast. Hello, it is I, Nosferatu. Hi, my baby. Hi, my baby. I don't think he trusts me in this. I figured, let's go all out. Why not? Ironically enough, I had just thrifted these for the Gaga concert, and I was like, kind of on theme. So, while I do think this is extremely stupid, this is how we're going to be doing the review for today. So, for today's video, hello, welcome on in, guys. We're going to be talking about Nosferatu. Oh my god. But I also wanted to talk about the soundtrack, and we'll talk about the perfume as well. Now, I am not going to go super in-depth with the actual movie review just because it's such a long movie. I watched the extended version of it last night, and I still love it. It's, ew, I don't like that the underside is, ugh. I watched the extended version last night, and it's not like you get anything really extra in it. But, I was like, damn, this movie's a lot longer than I remembered. And it's kind of slow, too, which I understand people weren't necessarily the biggest fans of this. I get that. I 1000% do. It took me a minute to like kind of come around to it. Also, I would recommend reading into Sigmund Freud's theory on mourning and melancholia. I think it just perfectly kind of situates the storyline or like the themes of the story into, I think, a more digestible way. I think it's trying to be, I don't mean trying like in a bad way, but I think it's trying to be like very true to just the emotional power of that time period. And with that, Lily Rose Depp's character and her portrayal of the character, it really fits perfectly into like that little world. But I think if you don't go into it with that mentality, you're going to probably be very bored, and you're going to probably be really annoyed with the characters. I saw a lot of hate online for Lily Rose Depp, but to be honest, all of the characters were kind of over the top and a little exaggerated, you know, like very overly dramatic. And it's also kind of like appropriate for a Robert Eggers movie. His films are always really dense, I would say, and I think that already puts up a wall for a lot of viewers. He's also going to be doing, I love this, I love it. I think, is Universal going to be doing like more? Because I believe it's a Universal film. They're kind of like redoing Wolfman, vampires, Nosferatu. I'm so excited for that. And Robert Eggers is actually already working on a werewolf movie that's going to be a timepiece as well. I think in England. I'm not sure though. I'm not sure. That's fucking incredible. I'm gonna love that. Huge Robert Eggers film fan also, by the way, you guys. The Witch, The Lighthouse, they're so good. But yeah. So with that, let's dive into the actual movie review portion. Like I said, directed and the screenplay was done by Robert Eggers. The budget for the movie was $50 million. That's a lot. And then the box office was $175.8 million. I love to see it. Okay, it's Focus Features. It's not Universal, I don't think. Might be, though. It still might be. I think it's still Universal. I don't know. But it's not A24, which I think it shows, I would say. I think a lot of, like, longtime fans of Robert Eggers also didn't necessarily like this movie because you could feel the Hollywood studio meddling. You just could. Like, I think not as much thought was able to be put into this movie in terms of like the other films that he's done, just because there was a much larger production company behind it. It's kind of like the issue with it nowadays, but we still got some cool shit. So I'm not like mad, but I would say that this movie has a very different energy than the others that were done by A24. So, Bill Skarsgård plays the infamous Count Orlok. Lily Rose Depp is Ellen Hutter. Willem Dafoe is Albin Eberhardt, and he's also going to be in the new werewolf one as well. I love that him and Eggers are like so close. I love it. Nicholas Hoult plays Thomas Hutter. Emma Corrin plays Anna Harding. And Aaron Taylor Johnson plays Frederick Harding. And I was actually relatively surprised with not his role, I guess, but with just him and his character within the storyline. I was pleasantly surprised. I'm not gonna lie. I know he does more like action-y stuff. I mean, I loved him in Kick-Ass, but that was so long ago. He was in Bullet Train too. That was good. So the quick little synopsis. In the 1830s, estate agent Thomas Hutter travels to Transylvania for a fateful meeting with Count Orlok, a prospective client. In his absence, Hutter's new bride, Ellen, is left under the care of their friends, Friedrich and Anna Harding. Plagued by horrific visions and an increasing sense of dread, Ellen soon encounters an evil force that's far beyond her control. Now, I did not initially get this, like, reading of the movie when I first watched it. And I was reading online, actually, where someone drew the comparison between Nosferatu and the topic of childhood assault. And that gave the movie such a different meaning in my eyes. And it's very hard for me to shake that now, watching the movie back. Because it really kind of does. It does and it doesn't. It's still very much like a vampire story. But I think there is a kind of underlying theme of like trauma of our childhood carrying through into our adulthood, and whether we want to acknowledge those sides of ourselves or not, like, just, it's hard to kind of explain, but I think what really kind of sets it off is that opening sequence when Ellen is much younger.
Come to me. Come to me.
And we see her having one of her afflictions due to Count Orlok. I mean, he's like a 100-year-old vampire dude shacking up with a teenage girl. But another part of this movie that I think people did not necessarily enjoy was it was kind of a departure from what we know Nosferatu to be. And it's because Eggers wanted to go with a more realistic approach, following more traditional folklore and what they had to say and how they felt about vampires. So it follows more closely with like the actual folklore, and maybe that's where some people like just kind of didn't enjoy it. I think it ultimately came down to vampire actual design and the fact that you don't see him too much. Plus, like, I would say kind of like the middle chunk of the movie drags. It drags. You have to be in a mood to watch a Robert Eggers film in general, but I would say especially this one, it's a lot. So yeah, with that, let's jump on into just a quick little run through of the synopsis, I guess. So in the 1800s, a young Ellen pleads for a supernatural being to ease her loneliness. Her cries awaken a mysterious creature who makes her pledge herself to him eternally. In 1838, Ellen has married Thomas Hutter, and the couple live in the German town of Wisberg. Thomas accepts a lucrative commission from his employer, Herr Nock, to sell the decrepit Grunewald Manor to the reclusive Count Orlok. Ellen, disturbed by a pleasurable dream of marrying death, begs Thomas to stay. To no avail, he leaves her in the care of his wealthy friend Friedrich Harding and his friend's wife, along with their 2 young daughters, Clara and Louise. Now, the kids are adorable. Don't get attached. But I think if we were to go into it with the mentality, not necessarily, because I would say this essay specifically is a little bit problematic, but it does make a distinction between mourning and melancholia. What we see throughout the film is like Friedrich, his character, goes through the mourning. That's what you originally might think Ellen is experiencing as well. She's mourning. She's in something else, and that's the melancholia. But Ellen's character does shift. There is a point when her and Willem Dafoe's character, when she's walking him back to his home right before the final night, she seems to take ownership. She understands now that it's not her fault that she's having these afflictions. Before, it was always portrayed as she's sick. She's just, oh, she misses her husband. Very much pushing it off onto outside things. When, in reality, Nosferatu, this dark thing that is inside of her, is what was causing it. Now, I do think also that, like, in modern day text, melancholia would just be labeled as depression. But this would be relatively around the same time period. I mean, Freud was later, I believe. But, yeah, this was 1914, 1916, so later on, but still, and I believe it does talk about Victorian times specifically, which that is what Nosferatu is. So I recommend reading that. You can find the PDF of it online super easy if you're interested in exploring kind of like that world, I guess, but I don't think it's necessary. But going into it, knowing that this is kind of like what we're shooting for, made it make a bit more sense. And I mean, I don't think it's too far-fetched either to think that the plot structure revolves around a character's mental well-being, because that's quite a few of Robert Eggers' films. I think now we're just associating a being with those dark emotions. So, arriving at the Carpathians in Transylvania, Thomas is surrounded by the local peasantry and seemingly shunned for associating with Orlok. He manages to secure a night at the inn by paying twice the rate and is warned by an old woman not to visit Orlok. That night, he witnesses a group of these Roma exhuming and impaling alleged vampire's corpse with a stake. The following morning, he finds the village deserted and his horse gone. He continues on foot until an unmanned carriage carries him to Orlok's castle. I do love the villager scene. I love it. It does feel a little bit kind of like one-sided, or that we kind of view them in a negative way. I think there's implication of like, oh, they're primitive, they don't know what they're doing, and he kind of carries that sentiment with Orlok later on in a conversation, but Orlok like snaps and's not having it. But the energy and just the visuals, the score as well adds to it. It's such a beautiful film. Like, visually, it's just so stunning. So, upon their meeting, the strange and menacing Orlok forces Thomas to complete the property sale. Orlok demonstrates certain preternatural abilities in subtle ways that puts Thomas in a cognitive dissonance, but Thomas remains eager to please his client and continues on, refusing to fully acknowledge that something is wrong. When Thomas accidentally cuts himself during dinner, He blacks out and awakens to find a bite mark on his chest. Later on, Orlok demands Thomas's locket containing a lock of Ellen's hair and does not give it back. He then coerces Thomas into signing a document written in occult script, which Orlok implies is the contract for selling the manor. Thomas is becoming increasingly sick and fearful. He demands to leave, but Orlok rebuffs him and demands Thomas remain to recover before departing. After awakening to find yet more bite marks on his chest, Thomas accepts what is going on, panics, attempts to escape the castle, and instead ends up in a crypt where he finds the Count asleep in a coffin. He grabs a pickaxe and attempts to impale the large, grotesque body of Orlok, but Orlok awakens, grabs the pick, and chases Thomas. Thomas escapes Orlok and his wolves by falling into a river beneath the castle, and is cared for by Orthodox nuns at a nearby church, who inform him of the nature of Orlok. Meanwhile, Orlok sets sail for Weisberg, inside the coffin and on a ship with plague-carrying rats, killing the crew during the voyage. Now, the scene with Thomas and Orlok. The dinner scenes are so well done.
Drink.
The intensity of Thomas's fear during those moments is so good. Like, they do such a great job of building up that tension, and you can feel how kind of claustrophobic Thomas feels, even though he's in this big castle. Like, the shots are just so close in on his face. You can see the terror in his eyes as even he is too afraid to look at Orlok. The scenes where they really go all in and, do something, they're doing something. I enjoy it. But those are the scenes with, the greatest intensity, is when Orlok is there in person. I also enjoyed the representation of, Orlok's shadow of influence. When he's using his powers to control things or control people, you see the shadow of the hand casting across the whole city or just Ellen. Just the way that the shadow really enforces that ominous presence is so good. I love it. It's creepy, and it also feels very reminiscent to the original with the use of the shadow work in that movie. So Dr. Wilhelm Severs, unable to treat Ellen's frequent sleepwalking and seizures, consults with his former mentor, Alban Eberhard von Franz, a Swiss scientist ostracized for his occult beliefs. Von Franz believes Ellen is under the spell of a demonic, plague-bearing vampire called the Nosferatu.
Of Samuel, Haniel, and Zadkiel, impart your speech unto me!
Nock is institutionalized after killing and eating sheep raw. Severs and von Franz search Nock's office, believing he serves the Nosferatu, who is revealed as Orlok. I also do want to give Lily Rose Depp her props. Yes, she is a little bit unbearable. Just a little bit, but I think that's the point. That's the point of her character, is to be over the top. But Lily Rose Depp did a amazing job with the physical acting and the physical body horror of this movie. She carries it, dude. When her afflictions come on and that other Ellen comes out.
We should never have married. We're already dead.
I should send Dr. Severs.
No! No! Please. Please.
It's incredible. I mean, this movie really had me being like a work bitch. When she says to Thomas that you could never satisfy me like he does.
You could never please me as he could. Take me!
Also, we can talk about it a bit. There's a little bit of like bisexuality to this movie as well. Orlok was like, I'ma suck you, and then I'ma suck your wife. Bye, King. Thomas returns to Weisberg as Orlok's plague ravages the populace. Nock escapes, killing a porter, and escorts Orlok to Grunewald Manor. Orlok appears to Ellen and confesses that, while he is incapable of love, her pledge has intertwined their destinies and made his desire to possess her insatiable. The document he tricked Thomas into signing is revealed to void the Hutter's marriage. Knowing that his bond with Ellen cannot be sustained by force, Orlok says she must willingly submit to him within 3 nights, else he will kill Thomas and allow the plague to consume Weisberg. Ellen later has sex with Thomas after confessing her past with Orlok, which Orlok sees telepathically. He retaliates by killing Anna and her children. Driven mad with grief, Friedrich dies from the plague while violating his wife's corpse. Yes, there's necrophilia. Gross, 1000%. Deplorable. But when I saw it happening, I was like, oh, I can't believe we're going there. Oh, we're going there. Oh my god. And you don't see like a lot, so don't think that it's going to be but it's creepy. It's fucking creepy. Also, the death scene of the little girls, brutal. Listen, I don't love that these things were done, but I love a movie that is willing to go there. And for this being a larger studio, to have, one, full frontal vampire nudity, interesting choice, but also such blatant themes of like sex, necrophilia, murdering children. Like, I'm surprised so many people disliked this movie as much as they did, because it goes there in so many ways that a lot of modern day big box office movies would never touch. But I will say the necrophilia scene is very creepy and disturbing. But also, Orlok is the plague. You know, he is the darkness that has descended on Weisberg. So it's up to them to not just save their own family, or for Ellen to save the people that she loves, but she needs to like save the whole city. Von Franz's search suggests that the Nosferatu can be destroyed by a fair maiden's willing sacrifice. Knowing only she can stop the plague, Ellen conspires with von Franz to keep Thomas away. Thomas, von Franz, and Sievers go to Grunewald Manor, where they accidentally kill Nock after finding him sleeping in Orlok's coffin. By the way, you can buy Orlok's coffin. It's like $11,000, but you can buy the sarcophagus. Realizing von Franz's deception, Thomas rushes back to save Ellen as von Franz destroys the vault. Ellen summons Orlok to her bedroom and repledges herself to him, having sex with him and allowing him to feed on her until sunrise, when the sunlight kills him, which, great scene also. Thomas returns and holds Ellen's hand as she dies, while von Franz confirms that her sacrifice has freed them from the plague and Nosferatu. Now, it is a tragic movie, not a happy ending by any means. Our fair maiden does die, but she gives the ultimate sacrifice for the people that she loves, and it's a beautifully tragic ending. So, with that, I guess let's talk about the soundtrack real quick, and then we'll get into the perfume review. So, Nosferatu. Do not remember where I bought this from. Music by Robin Carolan, featuring large-scale orchestral work, unnerving sound design, and thunderous percussions. The haunting, gothic-infused soundtrack by Robin Carolan sets the tone for Robert Eggers' highly anticipated Nosferatu, a supernatural journey into fear and folklore. And this is on a limited edition Oxblood Red. So that's cool. Oh, and there's a poster in here. That's right. I forgot about that. Hold on. I'm going to have to take off some fingers. Okay, so the poster that is in here, it's a copy of the contract that, what's his face? Thomas had to sign. Y'all see that, right? So there is that. I don't know. I think it's cool. Sets the theme, sets the vibe. And then just the sleeves have like stills from the movie. And then I will also pull it out so you can see what it looks like. It's just like red. But this is a very ethereal soundtrack. It carries a lot of the thematic weight, I would say, and the emotional, but more, it really just sets the tone of each location that you're in. Let me open it up because it is a bifold. I do have bifold things, but on the inside. Ah! Alrighty, so there's that. Now, I think this is probably the part that people were anticipating the mostest. Let's get into the fragrance review. So, I did originally just buy a sample of this, but it was so freaking good that I needed to buy the full container. This is by Heretic Perfume. This is like a little sample card thing. I also loved how they used like the shadow hand and all that during the promo for this. And I got my sample from Scentbird. Came in this cool tube that, I mean, perfect. It's perfect. And this is me trying to pick it up. This is how it comes. This is how it looks. It's got this spray, you know, but we will also open the actual box for it since I did get that as well, so we'll go into that. With that, it did come with this cool newspaper, just kind of like explaining the perfume and the kind of like story behind it, I guess. And it just goes into a bunch of different stuff. But this came with the actual fragrance itself. Okay, so this is the box. Very nice, very nice. Now this did sell out really freaking fast. So I had to buy it from like a second party, but that's okay. It wasn't much more expensive. It was like $10 more than the asking price on the actual Heretic website. So there's that. And then I also got, so if this is a little bit out of your reach financially, I wouldn't say it's a dupe, but if you are wanting like a Nosferatu kind of themed scent, on the TikTok shop they have this perfume oil, and it is a rollerball size. This is $30, I think. Kind of expensive, but you're getting a decent amount in here. I would not say this is my favorite scent. Let's just say that. It's alright, but y'all know how I feel about rose. It's heavy on the rose. Which I think is interesting because rose wasn't even used in the movie at all. What do the travelers seek when they ascend the mountain? What do they hope to find in the middle of the castle's stone walls? For some, it is excitement to explore the rumors of the handsome lord who is said to reside in the ruins. For some, it is fame, to be celebrated as heroes if they return with a demon's corpse. For others, it is wisdom, to simply unearth what the past sought to bury. What they find, however, is identical in seeking the new. It becomes impossible to ever return home. I'm trying to find the thing that says, like, what's actually in it. I guess I don't have that. But it is primarily rose. So if that's your kind of thing, go for it. This one is floral as well. It's still very florally, but it's different. All right. So get it out. This is how it looks. Very simple. And then there is more paperwork in here. What does the world of a vampire smell like? But the main notes, I have to keep taking my fingers off, I'm sorry. But the main notes are petrichor, which is like rain. It's like the smell of rain and dirt. Lilac, which is the flower that Thomas gives to Ellen in the very beginning. And she says, throw them away, they're already dead. Violet absolute. And vegan ambergris. Okay. Here, and we're just gonna, because I love this one. It's intoxicating, you guys. Like, I've never smelled something like this. It's so incredible. And it feels cold, it feels wet, but it also feels so warm and just cozy. You get that like really gentle, comforting lilac and violet. The ambergris doesn't come out super strong for me. But the petrichor, like, you really smell it. You really smell it. It has that mossiness to it. It's very delicate, but also kind of unmistakable. I do find it interesting that this is supposed to be, like, the world of the vampire. But to be straight up, I think this is Ellen. It's like the essence of Ellen, you know? But I like that. I do, because I think she's a great character to identify with in the film for a bunch of different reasons. But after I really kind of looked into the idea that Ellen is a survivor of childhood assault, it made like breaking down her motives and the intention of everything so much more interesting for me. Now, usually thinking about that kind of topic would be like a little bit triggering, but it kind of like helped me understand a little bit my own feelings about stuff, which I think is interesting because it's such a dark and twisted movie, but it really has like an emotional strength to it that I think is really kind of tragically beautiful. But yeah, like I said, I didn't want to go too crazy in depth. I know that like this movie was a lot, and for a lot of people it wasn't what they were expecting. I respect that, I really do, because it wasn't what I was expecting it to be either. But also kind of like by this point, if you go into a Robert Eggers film thinking you're going to get what you expect, that's kind of on you. But I mean, I'm a fan of his movies. I loved The Lighthouse, and for a lot of people, that one is like, but to each their own, to each their own. I love that Willem Dafoe is working in so many of these now, and going to be in more in the future. I just love him in these movies. He's the perfect character. I think Lily Rose Depp did a much better job than people are giving her credit for. You know, like, they were all annoying if you really think about it. But I want to know your thoughts, guys. If you enjoyed it, if you didn't enjoy it, please, by all means, let me know. I think with Robert Eggers, there's also a accessibility that gets brought up, and how a lot of his movies are not accessible for people. Like, most people don't want to go into a movie thinking about every little thing. And like, the thing about a Robert Eggers film is that's exactly what you're going to be doing. You're going to be thinking about every little freaking thing. So if that's not your shtick, that's not your vibe, I get it fully. They're not movies that you can just dive into and just lightly enjoy, I would say. Like, you gotta really, they demand effort on the audience's part. And I think a lot of people don't like that, and that's very fair, very valid. But yeah, let me know your thoughts, guys. Like and subscribe, all that. We're not going to be doing costumes every time. Like I said, I just so happened to thrift these, and then I was like, oh shit, it totally looks like Count Orlok. But thank you so much, guys. And Gooby is passed out. We'll catch you in the next one. Take care. Fucking making my fingers sweat.